Time is very precious. Time is, in fact, one of the most important resources which we humans have. But time can also sometimes be cruel to you. It can teach you things in life which you might not expect at certain points, but it will do sometimes in a very mild manner and sometimes in a very harsh way. It has been almost a month since I've posted my last video, and it feels bad that I have not been able to devote time to what I love doing. But there are situations in life where you cannot just equally proportionate your time to everything you want to do and whenever you want to do. So yeah, I was caught up in a few things, but here I am. I'm back. Okay, so coming back to the video, you will surely understand a bit later on why I talked about time in the beginning. Because if you're starting early, you will be the early bird catching the worm. You will be farther down in your creative journey as compared to others. So here is the time, here is the opportunity which you need to grasp. As a young artist, when I stopped taking formal training in art, I was around 15 to 16 years old at that time, I think. And I started exploring this artistic world on my own accord. And at this point, as I just told you, I was around 15 to 16 years old, and I had started my high school and my higher secondary school, in fact. And there was not really much time that I could devote to go to dedicated drawing classes. And that was one of the reasons why I started practicing on my own, whenever I used to get the time. Now, coming to the main topic, the 5 things which I want to talk about, which I wish I knew as a young artist. Number 1, starting as early as possible. As you already know, I arrived to the scene quite a bit late. It was, I think, in 2017 or 18 that I started posting my artworks onto Instagram and Facebook and like any other platform almost on the internet. And this was just 5 years back, so it has just been 5 years that I'm posting online, and I have created this online portfolio of mine. Before that, it just used to be offline, like only my friends used to know it, my relatives, some close members in the family, and that's it. Not much of a reach. But nowadays, like, you are not 90s kids. You are not even in the early 2000s. The internet today is very much advanced. You don't have dial-up internet connections. So I highly urge every young artist who is out there starting the journey to just go out there and post on every platform possible. And no, don't just limit yourself to these social media platforms like Facebook or Twitter or Instagram and not these mainstream social media sites. I want you to post your content in places where it will be found by other professionals, by other creatives. So by that I mean ArtStation, Behance, places where there are creative individuals who are maybe working even professionally, like most of them are working professionally full-time. And if they are noticing your artwork, if they see a talent in you which is unique as compared to other people in the sector, they might surely reach out to you for some project. Yes, if you are very young, they might not be able to hire you, but that doesn't mean they are not going to involve you in some kind of a project. They can. Now, there is also another interesting thing about these platforms, especially on DeviantArt and ArtStation, is that you can post yourself as an artist who is open to do commissions. Right, you can create, if you're a digital artist, you can create brush sets, you can create these visual assets, and you can post them on DeviantArt and ArtStation, and people can buy them. So it can be a source of passive income. And even forget about income at this point. If you're doing these things, you will learn quite a lot. You will learn that how to create these assets, how to create templates, how to create visual design, reusable design assets, which people can, download as a package and they can use for a brand or any other applications. And this is a really valuable skill, because having a cohesion in your design, having this specific format for something, having that knowledge, it really helps you to grow as a designer and not only as an artist. Okay, coming to point number 2. This is something which I don't want you to do, and that is following advice blindly. Now see, Instagram as a starting platform, yeah, sure. Facebook as a starting platform, yes, you should definitely have an Instagram and Facebook. These are the kinds of advice which I fell for, and I paid a lot of attention to these mainstream social media sites and not on the professional platforms. And that was one of the reasons why I didn't really reach out to many usable people. Yes, I was reaching to a large amount of audience in every month, and these were audience who were just, the normal public who are good at appreciating artworks, but they will not give you projects, they will not give you commissions. And these are definitely not professionals who are looking at your artworks. And that is what you really want to focus on if you want to take up art as a full-time or maybe even a part-time activity in the future. Now, back in 2018, when I started on Instagram and Facebook, I had a good sizable chunk of audience, and I was growing rapidly. I used to get a large amount of reach every month. It was almost crossing like 5,000 to 6,000 in terms of reach, in terms of average viewers who were viewing the posts and all, but it slowly kept declining. You can't really predict all the mechanisms which are going on inside these social media networks, what algorithms they are using, what updates they are having at every interval, and it's just hard to keep up, especially being an artist. Like, I have experienced this myself. I'm not a full-time artist, and I used to have many other activities. I used to go to school, I went to college, and I completed my school and college. And especially studying in the science field, I didn't have much time to study all these patterns and go forth with whatever was trending at that time. It's pretty difficult because I had to devote time into making my artworks also. And remember, this is the point when I'm having so much of pressure in terms of not only being creative about my artworks, but also having my academic life. Go out there and perform the best you can. That is what is needed. If you're performing your best, you will get the best results. You will get what you deserve. But it's not like you will always be able to hack into every system and just be on top of it. That doesn't really happen that way. There is also a lot of luck. It's the biggest variable in these things. You might get popular, you might not get popular, you might have a very stable audience, you might have this good reception, but it can decline, and it will decline at some points. So beware of it. Don't get demotivated by it, and don't keep applying every advice possible, because it will just create a muddle and mess. Now, you might have seen a trend that there are these online courses where people will teach you, like influencers will teach you how to maximize your reach, maximize your potential of these of your profiles. But why? I mean, I'm not asking a question to them, but I'm asking a question to you. Is it really necessary for you to fall into these traps where social validation is being monetized? They are really monetizing on your feeling of being left out, right? Like, people tell you that you are being left out in this field, you are being left out in this sector, you could do more, and they are forcing you to spend money on it. I don't think that is how it should be. So spend your money wisely. I mean, save up, buy good equipment, buy good paper. In fact, I mean, even drawing sheets can be pretty expensive nowadays if you look at it, and if you're especially working with watercolor. So save up for that, save up for your equipment, things which will directly impact your work. Save up for courses, for artworks, save up for courses such as, human anatomy and lighting, perspective. Go to these course websites and do these courses which are more useful to you. Coming to point number 3, procrastination. Yeah, it's a big enemy of all artists, and I know you are prone to it because I too am. And we procrastinate a lot. Like, we will think of this beautiful idea, I have this beautiful character design concept in my mind, and I'll just forget it. I'll just forget it because at that point in time, I didn't have maybe enough duration of time left with me, or I didn't have enough resources to, bring that design to fruition, and I didn't note it down. That is the biggest mistake you can make. And that's why now I have forgotten it, and I can't really remember what I was thinking about, and now I'm left without ideas and I'm facing an art block. Well, you have experiences. And yes, art block is a real thing. Art block happens if you are not jotting down your ideas. This mind is constantly working, and in this working brain, in this whole chaos, you will find many beautiful ideas. Yes, not all of them might sound good at a single point of time. You might think of a cat with wings and a unicorn horn. Like, it will not like seem even practical. But jot down this idea, like it might be very goofy, it might be very funny, but later on when you are having this crisis of ideas, when you don't know what to draw, you can just look at these like notes on even on your phone or anywhere. You can look at these notes and you can say, man, this looks very goofy, I can try this, I will draw this, and you never know, it will become a hit. And that is what you need to do. Yes, you will procrastinate, and I'm like, there is no one who is 100% without, like, born without this ability to procrastinate. You will procrastinate, and we all do, because we are human beings. What I want you to do is be aware of the fact that you will procrastinate in the future, and jot down any ideas you have. As an artist, you can't always copy things from everywhere, and sometimes even if you look at 1,000 pictures, it might be difficult to compose an idea in your brain. So it is better to jot down your ideas in words, and then later on search for reference images which will suit to this, and compose them into a final picture. Point number 4, and this, my friends, is a serious one, because I think in today's world where social media has become this widespread thing, it is on everybody's phone. Everybody is surfing the social media websites every day, every hour of the day, and every day of the week, every week of the year, every month. It's just an endless cycle. People keep scrolling and scrolling, there is content popping up. But where exactly is your content due? Who deserves to watch your content? Who deserves to look at your artworks? That, my friends, is what an audience is. And not knowing your audience is the biggest scam, or I should say it is the biggest scaffold which can form in front of you. You will have this following of 2,000 people, 3,000 people, and you will not get reach. Why is that? Because that is not your true deserving audience. Yes, people might follow you, people might interact with you once if they love one of your pictures, but these people will not look at things in an artistic perspective. They will not look at things like the details in the cross-hatching which you have done, the techniques of lighting and perspective which you have used, the proportions which you are maintaining. Like, there are so many concepts in art which only artists can understand. On the other hand, your audience, like, if you are drawing very simple things, if you are making simple comics, funny comics, goofy stuff, these are things which hardcore artists might not like they might not be tilted towards these things. Their social media feed might not be showing much of these, but it's the common people whom you will be more appealing to. And your feed might be filled with these pro artists who are like fine artists, who care so much about proportions, care so much about the lighting, perspective, and all these factors, and that is what happens. I have seen this quite frequently. It happens with all of us, because what we want is that everyone should love our artworks, but that is not the case. And I actually, I realized this when my mom told me about it. I don't draw things which are appealing to the masses. I really don't. And it took me 4 damn years to realize this, but I don't. I will draw these vicious looking monsters and portraits of people with horns and whatnot, like devilish pictures, nightmarish landscapes and all. And these are not appealing to everyone. I know if someone is relating to something at one point in time, yes, it will be relatable to them, that okay, this scene depicts something really harsh or violent, or this scene depicts any concept. But it is not, like, every artwork is not relatable to them in the long run. And I noticed it, like, after my mom pointed this out to me. Like, she has pointed this out to me multiple times, but I never really paid attention to it much, that most of the followers which I have gained online, the ones who are still viewing my artworks, who are still viewing my videos, my content on social media platforms, are the people who are actually artists themselves, because they see what kind of techniques I'm using, what kind of inks I'm using, what medium it is. They ask questions to me. I receive DMs asking to me about like, what is the scale of this picture? Like sometimes as you might have seen, if you have not seen, do check out my Instagram. I will link it down below. So if you have not seen, I click these pictures and I edit them in such a manner, especially my ink illustrations, that they look scanned. So if images look this way, people can't really make out the scale of it. So it might be a paper the size of this phone, or it might be an A3 sheet even. So if you are packing in a lot of details, it is not really easy to say like what the proportions are. And people ask me about this, and this is something which only artists will do, right? And people asking me about which pens I'm using, which equipment I'm using, and these are again things which only artists will do. And I just feel so foolish that I was not able to realize that earlier on in this journey. And that is what I want you to do. I want you to take off some time from creating artworks, from scrolling reels and shorts. I want you to take off some time from that, and I want you to analyze what your audience is wanting from you. I want you to analyze who your audience is. Don't just blindly keep posting stuff which you think will appeal to everyone, but is not actually appealing to everyone, because nothing is ever appealing to everyone. There are people who will like it, there are people who will dislike it, there are people who will be like, even a monkey can do that. You know it happens. So be aware of who your audience is. Don't just fall for traps. Again, this is interlinked with the fact that you should not follow advice blindly, because not all advice will work for every type of audience. So remember that. Okay, and the last point, for which I don't even need my script anymore. The last point is having your own identity as an artist, having your own style as an artist. Yes, I know it is a controversial topic. Yes, I know that it will strike into your minds that if I'm a beginner artist, how am I to discover my style? You will never discover your style. That's it. So why did I say it? Okay. Artists are creatures who are constantly inputting things into their brain, and the output is based on these inputs, right? So if we look at concepts, if you just look at pictures which were drawn by other artists, you will derive elements from there. You will derive what you like from there. You might like the perspective techniques which are used by one artist. Like if they're using a 3-point or 4-point, even 5-point perspective, you might like these wild, crazy perspectives and the angles which that artist is using. You will derive it from there. There is one artist who is using these very high contrast lighting effects, who uses pure ink in their artworks, and you will derive it from there. And then you will have another artist who is using some unique medium. Now, what artists do is they amalgamate all these techniques which they are learning every day, every moment, into their own style, into their own identity. Now, what I want you to do is don't just follow one artist. Look at every other artist's work who is drawing similar to that, who is making artwork similar to that. See what makes the artwork stand out from this specific artist you are following, and derive concepts from there. Try to develop your own style. You will never see that your style remains consistent throughout your life. No, that is never going to happen. You will have this variation in your style, but there will be a few elements which will tell that, okay, Indelibius has created this picture. Okay, this is a picture drawn by artist A, this is a picture drawn by artist B, and that is how you create your identity as an artist. Now, take for example Kim Jung-gi. We all know him. Sadly, he passed away last year, but if you have looked at his artworks, you will notice that there is this very specific style to his artworks. The anatomy he uses, pen pressure he uses, the type of ink swatches he makes, like the brush strokes, everything is very unique. But it's not that he is not deriving these from anywhere else. He might himself have learned these from other artists, from the real life. In fact, referencing your drawings of certain pictures, it's the best thing you can do, because if you do this in your beginner years, you will learn a lot, and it helps build that same identity. Because when you're looking at a reference image, you know the proportions, you will get the proportions correct, and what you need to do is alter the style of it. That is how you are creating a unique identity for yourself as an artist. And that, my friends, is very important in the long run. If you look at these 5 points, these are not just things which I'm blabbering about without knowing things about it, without knowing them, without having experienced them. I have experienced them. It is pretty harsh not knowing your audience especially and following advice. I feel right now that I have wasted so much of time following so much of advice of becoming successful online as an influencer and whatnot, trying to be someone that I was never meant to be. I don't want you to fall into that same trap. I don't want you to fall into that same mindset that I'm unable to do something. Forget it. Forget about social media validation. You don't need that to be a successful artist. You don't need that to be a good artist. And that is what matters. If you are a good artist, if you love the works which you have created, that is enough to make you feel proud. That should be enough to keep you motivated to keep drawing in the future, to keep making better artworks, to keep competing with yourself and have a healthy competition with the artists around you. With that, I would like to conclude this video and I will see you in the next one.